Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we try to make sense of the corporate world, one confusing document at a time. Today, we're diving into the latest annual report from Full House Resorts. If you thought building casinos was all glitz and glamour, wait until you see the financial gymnastics involved. I'm kidding, but things could get interesting. This report is basically a year in review, telling us how they made money, what challenges they faced, and what they are planning for the future. The key takeaway: this report is about Full House Resorts, a company that owns, leases, and manages casinos. They are in the business of entertainment, trying to give people what they want while also, making a profit. First things first, this report covers the year 2024. Think of it as a snapshot in time. One of the biggest things to keep in mind is something called forward-looking statements. Basically, the company is saying, hey, we're making predictions about the future, but no guarantees. Now let's talk about risks. Every company has them, and Full House is no exception. One of the biggest risks for Full House Resorts is competition because the gaming industry is a crowded field and they are fighting for customers' attention. They list several factors that could affect their success, and they operate in Mississippi, Colorado, Indiana, Nevada, and Illinois, so they are exposed to risks in those areas. Some of their casinos are located on leased property, for example, and if they lose those leases, they could lose those casinos. Closures of casinos due to things like weather, a pandemic, or some other event can really hurt their ability to pay their debts. And like everyone else, they depend on key personnel and try to retain their employees. They also face the risk of fraud and cheating. Okay, so what does Full House Resorts actually do? Well, they own and operate casinos and related hospitality and entertainment facilities. As of the end of 2024, they had 7 casinos, plus they've got some deals that let other companies run sports betting websites using Full House's licenses, called skins. Speaking of which, they operate in different regions, which they divide in Midwest and Southwest and contracted sports wagering. In the Midwest and South, they have American Place in Illinois, Silver Slipper in Mississippi, and Rising Star in Indiana. Out west, there's Bronco Billy's and Chamonix in Colorado, Grand Lodge in Nevada, and now Stockman's, which they sold. Speaking of Bronco Billy's and Chamonix, these are in Cripple Creek, Colorado, a historic gold mining town. The interesting thing is that Chamonix, which opened in phases recently, is way bigger and higher in quality than any of the other casinos in Cripple Creek. They sold Stockman's Casino in Nevada, planning to close the second closing in early 2025. Details like this are really important because they show how the company is shifting its focus. They opened a temporary casino in Waukegan, Illinois, called American Place in 2023, and they are working on building a permanent facility. The market in Waukegan is pretty interesting because they are estimating that American Place is the closest casino to more than 1 million people. All of this stuff is under government regulation, so there are some risks there. Companies have to think about the environment, too. Full House Resorts is subject to a lot of environmental laws and regulations, including things like emissions, handling waste, and cleaning up hazardous substances. For example, their Indiana property has environmental regulations for its riverboat, ferry boat, and golf club operations. They also say we cannot assure you that any of our contracted sports betting parties through the use of our permitted website skins will be able to compete effectively. That tells you about some risks about relying on partners. Let's talk about money. As of the end of last year, Full House had $450 million in debt. Debt can be a real double-edged sword. On one hand, it allows them to grow and invest, but it also means they have to make a lot of cash to service the debt. To go with the debt, they also have debt agreements which have a lot of rules about what they can and cannot do. It can limit their flexibility, they say. Full House Resorts faces what they call extensive regulation from gaming and other regulatory authorities. Gaming and other regulatory authorities have broad discretion and can limit, condition, suspend, fail to renew, or revoke a license. There are also some technology risks they highlight. Here's the quote: "Our gaming operations rely heavily on technology services and an uninterrupted supply of electrical power. If we experience damage or service interruptions, we may have to cease some or all of our operations, which will result in a decrease in revenue." In regards to cybersecurity, it seems they have a cybersecurity committee and they engage independent third parties to conduct external vulnerability and penetration testing. In other words, they try to hack themselves to see if they can be hacked before the hackers get to it. In part II, there are some interesting discussion points and analysis. The company's revenues are highly dependent on the volume and spending levels of customers at their properties. A decrease in consumer spending could seriously hurt their revenues. They also state that the casino, hotel, and resort industry is capital intensive, and we may not be able to finance expansion and renovation projects, which could put us at a competitive disadvantage. In other words, they constantly need money. Here's an important thing to note. I'll scroll right to it. Our significant indebtedness could adversely affect our financial health and prevent us from fulfilling our obligations. This could impact their ability to fund operations or limit the expansion of their business. As of December 31, 2024, the total principal amount of their debt was $450 million. To service that debt, they say they will require a significant amount of cash. To generate that cash, that depends on many factors beyond their control. For the year ended December 31, 2024, they generated almost 40% of their revenue and more than 60% of their income from their casino in Illinois. Similarly, 25% of their revenue and also 25% of their income came from their casino in Mississippi. Let's take a glance at some numbers. Their net loss was about $40.7 million, which is definitely not a small amount. But it's important to note that it was almost double last year's, which was roughly $25 million. Looking at the big picture, Full House Resorts had a year of both progress and challenges. New projects like American Place and Chamonix have boosted revenue. However, they're also dealing with high debt and the ever-present risks of the gaming industry. So what do we think of Full House? The company has made some smart moves in terms of expansion. American Place and Chamonix seem like they could become significant income sources, but they are facing some real headwinds. First, their debt load is a major concern. Servicing that $450 million is going to eat up a lot of cash flow. Secondly, the dependence on just a few properties for a large chunk of revenue is risky. Any downturn in those regions could hit them hard, so is Full House a buy, sell, or hold? Well, it depends on your risk tolerance. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed, hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe for more deep dives into the corporate world.